G'day, folks. Peter here. Welcome back to Mondays Down Under on Talking Pools podcast, where I'm joined by Lee, who is now at home, and Shane, who is also at home.
Hey, Peter. Hi, Shane.
Good to be back, Lee.
Yes and no. Like, unpacking from a 5 months away in a caravan is like, when you unpack when you get home from holidays and it's just a really big task. Well, it's like that times 1,000. It's just awful. And I'm having to clean the caravan and clean the house. And yeah, it's just bedlam.
Well, there's a good approach to that, actually, that's similar to what I apply in my business. Do you know the easiest way to do that? Get someone else to do
it. Delegation.
Yes. Volunteer them.
Yeah. No, look, it's certainly nice to be in my own bed and being able to have a long hot shower.
Yes.
And all of those things it's very nice. It's actually nice to be back in my office where I've got screens and a proper desk and all of that sort of thing. But yeah, we are home now for the next few months. My husband is having double knee replacement next month.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm cutting him off at the knees. Yeah. So I'll be playing nursemaid for a couple of months maybe. And then eventually, probably after Christmas in the new year, we will head out again. And so I will put it out there that if somebody wants to book us for next year, if they're planning a holiday and they want a couple of temporary relief staff, you two boys, put your hands down. Please reach out and let me know, because we will be planning our trips. And if you want to jump in early so that we can make ourselves available in your area, hit me up. We'll happy to look at it and have that conversation. So nothing like
bookings?
for next year. No, for next year, no. So this year we did actually get a few book up, which actually sort of happened as we progressed, but it was lucky because we were in the area, so that sort of worked out really well. But next year at the moment our book is clear. So so we're actually happy to go wherever the people want us, I suppose. Western Australia would look really good, so go over and visit my friend Peter. But no, look, we're happy to go anywhere. Have a caravan, we'll travel. We can house sit, we can pet sit, we can do all of that and business sit at the same time if you so wish. So yeah, just let me know. It's it was certainly the two businesses that we filled in for this year in Brisbane in, July and August. Found it hugely helpful and beneficial. They actually managed to get staff trained. They took advantage of my training skills at the same time. So we trained new staff and put some new policies and procedures in place with one business. And so, we were able to help on a multiple of fronts. So. Yeah.
Cool. But I do notice your dog behind you there, Lee, is very happy to be there. Looks very content lying on whatever that thing is.
Yes, and I wasn't very popular with her only a few weeks ago because we sent her home early and she was very upset with us. When I say sent her home early, we only sent her home 2 weeks early, not even that, maybe 10 days. And she pined for us for the first 2 days.
Oh,
so I wasn't very popular, but we were going to a national park or an area that has a lot of national parks, and we wanted to be able to ride the bikes and through the national parks and that, so we couldn't take her with us. So we had the opportunity to send her home, and we took that opportunity. But she was very happy to see us when we got home.
Cool.
Buffer Zone Systems are the pool and spa industry specialists with a complete range of software for pool shops, service companies and commercial aquatic facilities. With more features and integrations than any other pool industry software, you really need to reach out for a one-on-one demonstration. Contact Bufferzone today.
This time of year, spring, of course, we're getting a lot of people want to extend their swimming season. So increased inquiries into pool heating. So I figured today we could talk about different types of heating for residential pools. So we're not going into the geothermal and so forth they use on some of the big Olympic pools and public pools. But yeah, gas, solar, electric, and a couple of quirky ones I've seen over the years. So
is this how many dimensions here, Peter?
Oh, let's start with that. What the hey? I had one customer many years ago, and he had a potbelly stove, one of the cast iron wood burning stoves, had the metal flue or chimney going up through his roof. This was in a back, they call it a sleep out. It's basically a room that's kind of been enclosed in a makeshift way. And he had that, and what he did was had a washing machine pump connected up to the pool, and it would slowly put water through this pipe, through this hose, attached to a copper pipe that he'd spiraled around the flue of this wood burning stove, and then back into the pool. And I tell you what, that water came back in damn near boiling. I don't think I put a thermometer on it, but I made the mistake of putting my hand in front of it at one point, and I jumped at that. So you get the quirky ones, but not probably the type of thing you want to be promoting to customers.
I did actually have a pool tech, actually one of my best pool techs that I had in the time we had our business. And his name was Peter, funnily enough.
Good man.
And he actually used to, he was a bit quirky and would look after his own pool, quite a sizable pool at their family home. And he actually used oil from fish and chip shops locally. He'd go and collect their old oil and actually had an oil heater. He'd built an oil heater for his pool. And the water used to, similar thing, the water used to pass this oil heater and heat the water. And it worked really well for him. But it was, something a bit quirky and different.
Yeah, these days I wouldn't want to try that because there's a business, one of my customers actually has a business. They go to these places, collect the oil, take it away and turn it into biodiesel or whatever they call it for vehicles.
Oh, okay.
So that's big business over here.
Oh.
So I believe. But then you get the others, the makeshift solar systems where someone will get some black poly pipe and either a valve off the system or again, I've seen a few of these with the washing machine pumps and run it along the fence line or just get a big roll of this poly pipe and just throw it haphazardly on the roof where it gets hit by the sun, heats up the water that's pumped through, and in the first storm blows off the roof.
Yeah.
So
and there's always that good redneck picture that you see that comes around every so often, which is the wheelbarrow in the middle of the pool that's got a fire in the middle, in the wheelbarrow.
It reminds me of the one you see with the power board floating on a thong, a flip-flop, the footwear, and that's floating in the water, and they've got this power. I don't know what country it is, but here it's 220 to 240 volt is our mains power, and no, stuff that in a big way.
God, no. So Pete, over the years, what heating have you typically installed?
Well, solar used to be very popular. When I used to be building pools, we'd do a lot of them with solar heating. But we've noticed a big decline in that for a couple of reasons. First of all, roof space now is too valuable for solar power generation. You get the photovoltaic panels on there, ideally facing north. Remember, we're in the southern hemisphere, so north is maximum sunlight. And obviously, if you've got both solar power panels and solar pool heating, there's a conflict. They both want to vie for this best space. Add to that the fact that inverter heat pumps have become more popular and more energy efficient, especially if you're producing your own power on your roof. then that's becoming much, much more popular.
Mm.
The other thing with solar is, and look, a good solar system is brilliant, but it's completely dependent upon the weather. You get a cloudy day, not going to do a thing.
No.
A cool day, not going to do very much at all. But let me preface that what we should have started with, the key to efficient heating is having an insulating blanket on your pool. They can either be the foam type, it can be a bubble blanket. They reduce evaporation, they reduce heat loss from the water, and over 90% of heat loss is straight off the surface
Absolutely.
in our climate. So I tell customers up front, if you're not going to have a blanket, you're going to be buying a much bigger, more power-hungry heater for your pool, and it's not going to work as well.
Well, I always used to say to my customers, trying to heat a pool without a blanket is like trying to heat your house without carpets and curtains. You've got nothing to help hold the heat in. And it was always like, if people were umming and ahhing about what to do with heating, as far as like from a spend a dollar value perspective and whether they could afford it or not, I always used to say, get your blanket and roller first.
Yep.
Because you have to have one with your heating anyway. And look, we know that a good solar blanket can, on a sunny day, can add 6 to 8 degrees to the actual pool temperature. Obviously, you want to be circulating the water through that warmest part of the day to be moving that warm water around. So a good solar blanket can make all the difference.
But circulating that heat around is quite easy.
Yes.
Robotic cleaners do it brilliantly. Suction cleaners do a very good job of it. I've had customers who don't have an auto cleaner, don't want an auto cleaner of either suction or robotic varieties. And for them, I say, just get your manual vacuum, your manual hose vacuum, stick it at the bottom of the deep end, run the system like that. That'll help as well. Stops you burning your feet in the top few inches and then getting to very cold water below.
Well, I actually like to have the water sucking from the skimmer box, like when it's running, because obviously it's going to remove the warmest water of the pool from underneath that blanket, suck that into the skimmer box and then spit it out, preferably lower into the pool, and to help create that full circulation. But yeah, we definitely, as you've noted, we used to do a lot of solar heating systems over the years. God, more than I can count. I think my 3 sons, or at least 2 of my 3 sons, are very proficient at putting solar up on roofs. But yeah, like you say, that roof space is now at a premium for the PV panels, for generating electricity. And a lot of the time, people are generating electricity through that. Obviously, they're generating it through the warmest, the sunniest part of the day. And that power is going back into the grid, which I just got a letter today to state that I'm going from getting 8 cents a kilowatt down to getting 6 cents a kilowatt.
Right.
For every kilowatt, 6.8 cents per kilowatt is what I'm going to be getting, putting it back into the grid. So I'm better off to use it.
Yeah.
And I'm better off to use that to heat my pool and use a heat pump, run it through the warmest part of the day. It's when the heat pump is going to be at its most energy efficient, because it's using that ambient heat of the middle of the day. My electricity is cheap because it's being generated for free. It's a win-win. So yeah, it's interesting seeing over the years how that we've changed from solar through now to heat pumps. I remember years ago it was really hard to sell a heat pump. People, like, big electricity costs to run PV panels on roofs. We really hadn't heard of electricity panels on roofs at that stage. And so we've done a complete 180.
And completely lost train of thought there. Got distracted.
I was going to say gas has never come into the equation.
Gas, we see gas on some commercial pools. which isn't
Mm.
my forte, as you know. Occasionally, someone in the country will have, out in the sticks, will have a gas heater, but they need to get bottled gas because a lot of these areas don't have a gas supply. So that costs them a small fortune.
Mm.
Where I find gas has its place is if they need to heat up their pool fairly quickly, but don't need to
Yes.
maintain temperature for a long time.
No, exactly right. Very popular in spas and small pools because you can heat that small body of water very quickly. You can leave it cold the rest of the time. I want to use my spa tonight. I'll turn on the gas heater, and it's very instantaneous, especially if you've got a very well-sized gas heater. So that's where I found it had its mark. But we're on LPG, so bottled gas. We don't have a natural gas line here. And so that made for very expensive heating. And given the difference in temperatures and locations, Shane, have you found, is gas heating, or was it more popular in New Zealand?
I would say no. I can only speak for myself and the pools and the properties that I've been to, but I would say gas is probably dying out over here. As Peter said, I've seen it on quite a few commercials as well. You've got that advantage of having instant heat. There was a dive I did it was about a month ago, still in winter. And the guys needed a dive, and I wasn't going to dive into the pool until it was heated. They had a gas heater within a day and a half. I think it's like a 90,000 litre pool, no cover. Within about a day and a half, it got up to 28 degrees. So in that sense, yeah, gas works phenomenal. But I would say heat pump is definitely a big market in Auckland, especially. I'm not too sure what it would be like down south New Zealand in the South Island. They tend to hit freezing temperatures, very diverse compared to what it is in Auckland. But solar, you're still seeing quite a lot of solar going up on roofs. It's interesting because my last job today, they've quite a big property. They've just had all the steel, I think it's steel framework, put up in their garden for PV panels, and it's like a mini solar farm. These guys are building, and he's getting 58 panels, so it's going to be big.
Wow.
He was saying they couldn't actually put it up on his roof. The house is quite old. Because the actual framework of this house couldn't take the weight. So you have to take that into consideration as well. But when I've seen all these PV, the frames for the PV panels, I thought, this would be a good time to see if he's interested in a heat pump which is PV ready. So is that something that's come over to your shores in the last couple of years, PV ready heat pumps?
No, what do you mean by PV ready?
So basically you can connect, so on the house, you would have your PV panels, it would go into your backup battery.
Okay.
The most common one over here, like your Tesla house battery. And you would connect your heat pump up to the battery. So basically when it stores X amount of power, you can use that power directly into the heat pump. So you can just basically just travel that power solely for the heat pump.
Wow.
So there was a company, Oasis Heat Pumps. They brought out one in New Zealand, I think it was last year. So it would have been good to actually sell one of these and, figure out exactly how it runs. But yeah, to be continued on that one. But yeah, heat pumps, definitely. It's a very big market over here.
The other thing with the heat pumps, a couple of points there. First of all, the newer inverter heat pumps, so much more efficient. There's still a couple of brands that are non-inverter, and they just cost a small fortune to run. Another thing I've noticed increasingly, heat pumps, like a lot of pool equipment, can be controlled via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. They've got the app, you connect with Wi-Fi. And one problem I've had with that is customers would go look at buying a pool and they'd think, they'd be told, oh, yeah, you can, control it by your phone. And they would think in their mind, okay, I'm about to leave work. I turn the heater on, I'll get home to a nice warm pool. Not realizing that you've got a gazillion tons of water. And this thing, unless it's, absolutely massive, like beyond the capacity of household power supplies to be able to run it, they think, oh, why has there only been a very slight change, if any, in that last half hour? So managing people's expectations is key there. A heat pump will take a few days to heat a pool, depending on weather and the local climate, what region you're in.
Yeah, well, it's the capacity of the heat pump. It's the ambient air temperature that it's working in. Obviously, volume of pool, all things to be taken into consideration. But it comes back to that all-important thing of managing people's expectations.
Yep.
So if you give the customer the right information from the get-go, or you find out what their expectations are, then you can let them know where the miss is going to be, if there indeed is going to be a gap. Because, if that's how they're expecting that heater to deliver, then they're going to be sadly mistaken.
Yeah.
You've got to educate them from the get-go. A heat pump is a slow, continuous heat. It'll turn itself on and off as it needs to heat the pool. You just set and forget. And that's where I agree with you, Peter. Having those app facilities in many ways are not necessary with a heat pump, in my opinion, because I want to set my pool at 28 degrees and then yes, I only want it to work between 9 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's my peak solar on my panels on my roof. So you can turn yourself on and off as often as you like between 9 and 4. Go about and do your business. It's a set and forget for me. And that's what people want, really. They want it to be simple.
Yeah, the one exception to that, I have some customers, they travel a lot. And if they want to turn the heater on a few days before they arrive back home so they've got a warm pool, then that makes sense. I have another one. I'm actually working with an architect as a consultant for this. And, oh, my goodness, the original design of the pool was shocking. The equipment was meant to be something like 50 meters away, and the pipework would go directly underneath the house. And I thought, no, that is impossible to repair if something goes wrong. So I sorted him out on that. But these folks, multi-million-dollar house they're building out in the country, that's their holiday home. And they'll go there probably once every 2 months. For them having the Wi-Fi capacity to turn it on and off, that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
So time and a place, but yeah, when you hear people, I've heard of sales reps telling customers, oh, you get this heater with your pool. I'll come back to that as well. Get this heater with your pool. You'll be able to turn it on when you leave work and come home to a nice warm pool. There's just way too much energy required.
Yep.
The thing that just came to mind as well, so often we see in the competitive market we have at the moment, a lot of pool builders are including a heater with their pool. And the number of times I've gone out there and they've said, oh, my heat pump's not working, it's not heating up the pool. And you find out that it's 1/4 the size or capacity it needs to be. It's really disappointing for the sake of the customer. They've been told they'll have a heated pool. Well, yeah, it'll heat it through the 3 hottest months of summer, which is when you don't need your pool heated.
Yes. Again, it's about expectations, and it's about having those conversations with your client, whether you're a builder and actually going, okay, well, how much are you expecting to swim in this pool? What months do you actually expect to swim? That was always the first question that I asked someone when they came to me and they said, I want to look at heating for my pool. I'd go, okay, what is your ideal swimming temperature?
Yep.
What is your ideal swimming months? If you could, and most people would answer, I want to swim September to April inclusive. and I want to swim at about 28 degrees. And that was typically what we were working with. And because I would say to them, the heater that I will select for you to swim from September to April inclusive at 28 is going to be vastly different than if you said to me, I only want to swim November to March.
Yeah.
Or no, like March here is still quite warm. So that's why, like, even though significantly not a big difference in months, maybe what is that, a drop of 3 months, 2 months from one end and 1 month from the other, but it makes a huge difference in the size of the heater that you require. And of course,
basically give them the options for 12 months, 9 months, and 7 months, which is how they're normally worked out here. I give them the option on an email when I quote it to them, because then if they do come back and say, oh, my heater's not working, I can just say, well, look at your email that I sent. You can see here, these are the approximate months, and it's approximate because of the ambient temperature you mentioned. Approximate months it'll work. And I said on there, this will not heat your pool in winter.
Yes.
So it's as clear as can possibly be.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's important when you're choosing a heater for a client that you are comparing apples with apples as well, especially if you've got a client that's come to you with a quote from someone else. Are those heaters actually comparable? Are the COPs on different pumps as to what levels have they been tested at? One might have been tested at an ambient air temperature of 31, but the other one's been tested at an ambient air temperature of 26. We need to make sure that we're actually comparing comparable units. And I always gave my clients the chance or the option of upsizing to a slightly higher kilowatts if their power availability allowed, that they could, instead of looking at a 21 kilowatt unit, that they looked at a 24 kilowatt unit and what that meant for them, that they could perhaps get a little bit longer out of their swimming season, their pool would actually heat faster, those sort of things, so that they were aware of those expectations. So,
the other things that need to be considered is, are there any water features?
Yes.
Water features make a world of difference to heat loss. Infinity edges.
Yep.
You were saying that at the same time as me, weren't you? Infinity edges, man, they can lose some heat.
Yeah.
How windy is the area? Over here, near the river, there's a couple of suburbs. We've got basically an estuary, but we call it Swan River and Canning River. And some of the more prestige homes are up on hills overlooking it. And there's one of these pools in particular that you can't, he's got a bubble blanket with an in-ground roller, but as soon as you put it in, you look over the infinity edge down to the river, the wind howls through there. Perth's always windy, remember? It howls through, lifts the blanket and pushes it up against the wall of his house. So that's fairly useless. But also the amount of heat loss when that blanket's off that pool is just off the charts. I remember when I first got there, he said, oh, can you tell me why my heater isn't working? So I had a look at it and I said, well, for starters, it's been disconnected. It's not actually connected to anything. His is actually a gas heater. But just somebody who disconnected it from the pool pipes, the pool plumbing, and just had it still sitting there, too lazy to remove it.
You actually brought up an interesting one then when you talk about heaters, gas heating. It reminded me, I had a client who had a home architecturally designed, and we come back to the lovely architects when they get involved with swimming pools. This fellow was from overseas. The family flew out to Australia twice a year for a family holiday. So they were here for an extended period when they were here. They had a disabled daughter who needed to be able to use the pool. The architect designed a pool that was 130,000 litres to be used twice a year. So Pete's going to, for our US clients,
you can see me looking over at the other screen.
Pete's going to work out the volumage on that. Don't you love that word?
A big residential pool.
Yeah, very
130,000 litre to US gallons is just shy of 34,500 gallons.
Yep.
So it's big for a residential pool here.
Big for a residential pool here, and especially one where they don't live there all the time. They're only here twice a year. Other than that, the property is not used, and they are in a high wind area. Beautiful home, beautiful location. Anyway, they then contact us after the fact and say, we'd like to put heating on this pool. Now, the architect will not allow solar heating on the roof of the pool, the roof of the house. So that went by the wayside. Nobody was having that.
Was there a reason for that?
Aesthetics. He wasn't.
Don't start me on that.
He'd designed this beautiful house that was not going to be distracted by black matting on the roof. Mind you, you did see the roof. The roof was quite visible as you drove into the property. However, I then said to them, okay, well, given it's 130,000 litres and you want to swim in winter, because one of the times of the year that they came out, they needed to be able to swim. I said, you're going to need three-phase power. Do you have three-phase power? And the answer to that was no. You can tell by my laughter when I said that. But I went, okay, well, your only option otherwise then is gas. Now, heating a 130,000 litre pool with gas in an area where we're on LPG.
Oh, wow.
So gas cylinders.
Yeah.
So they actually had to, because they're in a fire zone.
Oh, goodness. It gets better and better.
Yeah,
The gift that keeps on giving.
It does. They actually had to dig a whopping great hole and bury a huge LPG tank in the ground for this pool. And yeah,
well, if you got the money, why not?
Yeah, it just makes me shake my head. So it does pay to get involved with these pools much earlier on.
Yes.
But anyway, so
is gas on the east side, Australia, Lee? Is that?
Oh, look, there's there's natural or piped gas in a lot of the major cities. So Melbourne, Canberra, I think Wollongong, Sydney, probably the north coast of New South Wales. There's it's quite common to have natural gas piped to the house. Just not where I am. But you know that I'm in the middle of nowhere. No, not really, but actually I'm in the middle of two big capital cities, just a long way in the middle.
A long way in the middle, yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's making a smart decision about your heating is you've got to take in all of those things, like you were saying, Pete. The wind location, so the exposure of the pool, the usage of the pool, the volume, the desired swimming temperature, the desired swimming season, even the color of the pool can have a huge effect on the effectiveness or efficiencies, I should say, of heating. So, really, really important. So I would say to our listeners out there, now this time of the year is a great time of the year to be promoting heating to your customers.
Yeah.
So grab out your database that you've been working on or should have been working on cleaning up all through winter. So, and use that. Market to those that don't have heating. Maybe market to those that have solar heating that are looking at a heat pump because they're about to put PV panels on their roof, or they'd like to put PV panels on the roof and they're going to be removing their solar. But use this time of the year. Fantastic. We want to maximize, lengthen their season. The longer they're using the pool, the more they're going to be looking after it, putting chemicals in, again, helping your bottom line as a pool service company or as a retailer. So promote heating out there, but make sure that you're actually meeting your heating choices that you're selecting for your clients, meeting the needs and expectations of your customer.
And if you're not up to speed with how to size a heater correctly for a particular condition, speak to your supplier. I've never met a supplier in my life who would not be happy to spend 20 minutes going through heating calculations with you if it means they're going to sell you more heaters.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and most
I'd love
of
it.
them, Well, most of them actually have heating calculations on their website,
Yeah.
or maybe through your dealer login portal, depending on the supplier. Look, and other suppliers have calculation sheets that you can complete online and submit, or complete old-fashioned pen and paper and fax through or email through.
Did you say fax?
I did say fax.
I can't remember the last time I used a fax. I sent a fax or received one.
Yeah. Oh, well, like I would scan it and send it off maybe via email. So yeah, that's not really faxing, but yeah, everything's via email now, isn't it? But yeah, so take advantage of those services that your suppliers offer, and also take the time to educate yourself on how heat pumps work.
Yeah.
What are the key important things that you need to know to ask that customer, so that you can supply that information to your supplier to get the best heat selection. And if in doubt, size up.
Yeah, 100%. All righty. If you have questions out there, thank you for listening first. If you have questions out there regarding heating or anything else pool related, please send them through to talkingpools@gmail.com and we will attempt to have a go at it. But what I'd also like on the Talking Pools Facebook group, I'd like to see some of the worst heater installations you've come across. I'm just curious to see what people in other parts of the world have to put up with. I've seen them installed in the wrong position in the sequence of, pump, filter, heater, chlorinator. I've seen people mess that up. I've seen them inadequate ventilation around the heat pump. That's a very
big, God, yes.
That is huge. Especially as blocks of land are getting smaller here, houses leave less space, and the number of times you see a heat pump that's so crammed up between house and fence, which might only be 3 feet, there's just no room for airflow.
I saw one online, Pete, a picture of one online that was within arm's reach of the pool when you were in the pool.
I've seen them, and electrical safety is not to be messed with.
Oh my God, it's just like, that's just a no-go zone. Like, really?
Yeah, they need to get training.
Just going back to that quickly, Peter, that's one thing for the listeners to look into. I mean, shop around, because there's a lot more heat pumps on the market now with side vents.
Yeah, front vent, side vent, top vent. Top vent, you need to watch out of leaves and other debris falling in them. But for a lot of them, you can get some sort of a flue or a channel to direct the cold air out when it's heating, or if it's chilling, the cold air that comes out.
Yeah, and there are areas in our lovely country that do need to chill their pools. So that's another facet of heating to actually consider.
I got that completely backwards.
Why is that?
Because when you're cooling the water, you get the hot air come out.
Yes, of course you do.
Excuse me, it's been a long week. My first day back after a public holiday. Yeah, so, but again, all the ventilation requirements are always in the instruction manuals.
Yes.
So speak to your supplier, look on their website, they're generally on there.
Yep, education about the products you sell is absolutely paramount in every situation.
100%. Anyway, thank you guys. You have a fantastic week. That's exactly what I intend to do. My wife's taken the kids down to Albany on the south coast, about 4 hours drive away, to spend time with her parents. So the kids get time with the grandparents, and I get the house to myself. So I get the food I want, I get the music I want, I get to do whatever the hell I want. It's going to be a good week.
Enjoy.
I will. Anyway,
you're going to give out your address on the podcast, Peter?
Nope. Nope.
Party at Pete's. Party at Pete's.
Alrighty. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
Later.
Bye.